Welcome back, everyone, to the Safe Room, the first episode of 2022. We have to get into it right. Anyway, guys, you know what it is. Your boy, the President, Shon Williams. I'm back with another episode. Try not to harp on it because in the next couple of days, I'm going back to classes. It's the worst, but you gotta find a way to just push through. I'm almost done, guys. I'm almost at the finish line. But, you know, for what we have right now, for the rest of this holiday break, which I feel has been going on for a while. I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't feel rushed to me. It feels like it's been going on for a while. You know, we're gonna enjoy it. But today, for the first episode, listen, guys, I ain't got nothing fancy schmancy. I got no guests. I don't have no crazy heated topic. I want to talk about just 2022 overall, how it's the beginning of the year, first month, and all of us have our interests, our goals that we want to, you know, expand on, and like, how do you want to like plan it out? How should we, you know, approach these situations, and how can we guarantee that we're going to get success in the stuff that we do? It's basically a follow-up from the last episode I did, you know, with the whole New Year's resolution, how that was the last episode of 2021. Here, we're kind of talking about, okay, how do we plan out the perfect year for us? Or, I guess, ideally, what we want it to be in terms of the perfect year, because I don't think any year is perfect, a la 2020 to this day, outside of the world. But I digress. I know it's a pretty long intro, guys, but I just say I'm really excited to be here with you guys, verbally talking to you guys. If this is your first time listening, you know, I appreciate you guys coming on. This is the Safe Room where we share our opinions and our takes without anyone being judged or ridiculed. That goes for me or for all my guests, but I do not want to use a platform where I'm just exposing things. No, I try to take my stuff, take my material, and use it in a constructive manner. And if you've been listening to me from time, guys, you already know 2022, your boy is about to come in strong. Listen, man, I had a lot of, you know, female guests, and that was really great for last year. I'm trying to get some of the guys on here. I got to get some of the bros, you know, we'll have to see, you know, I'll get some new guests. I'll be doing some scouting, you know, maybe you'll see me connect with your favorite podcaster, you know, that's the plan, but we'll have to see. Let's get to the topic at hand. Let's get to the subject matter. So, it's 2022, and all we're asking at this moment is for some positivity, any positivity in terms of this COVID-19, this pandemic, what's going on with the Omicron, Omicron, whatever you want to call it as, you know. It's a lot. So, we have to figure out about that issue, but I think it's also important that we focus on ourselves, you know, our self-mastery, our self-worth, and what we want to do, you know, in terms of any individual goals and aspects. So I'm going to share my personal experience, and then I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of things in terms of like different techniques, how can you establish consistency, you know, what was I doing before the podcast even originated to now, how my interests have shifted, just to give you my perspective and how if you're someone who has something that you want to do but you're not sure of your direction, I can hopefully, you know, give you a light or a perfect way to start. So, let's get into it. So, to be completely honest, I have never been a person that writes down everything completely when it comes to like planning or organization. Usually I remember from just the top of my head, just, oh, okay, I have to do this, I have a task here, I have something I need to complete. But that was like a younger version of myself when, you know, you don't have that much responsibilities or like the weight of your actions isn't as heavy because, you know, you kind of know what you have to do, especially like if you're young. Let's say you're in middle school, you know, it's kind of like you go to school, go to class, get an education, but outside of that, you're probably not going to be, you know, deemed with more responsibilities, whether it's inside the household, whether it's a job because you're not really into that field yet. you're mostly restrained and you know exactly what you need to do. But the older you get, when you enter high school, especially that second stage of high school, when you hit like grade 11, grade 12, that's when, more tasks and objectives start to pile on you. And it becomes difficult because now it's about time management, it's about organization and learning how can you prioritize all the things you possibly can. Now, I learned it the hard way that you can't prioritize everything. I'm always a person that's like, I gotta do everything. But at the same time, I always know my limits. I always get called out for like, Shon, you do too much. Oh my God, Shon, like you're doing this and that. Like, how are you managing this? The truth is, I don't know. And honestly, I don't want to manage all of this. It's just my interests at a point were all over the place. I was kind of like, I was like window shopping or just testing out the waters. I'm like, oh, I like this. Let me do that. Oh, I really enjoy this. Let me do that. But I never realized if my heart was truly into that specific, objective, that specific activity or whatever. I didn't know. I was confused. It was probably till when I head to, York. I kind of got a glimpse of like, okay, you know what? I think this is what I want to do. And trust me, before you guys start writing down any plans or any, goals or achievements you want to do, the first thing you want to figure out is what inspires you. Because I'm telling you right now, if you're a person who has a multitude of things that you enjoy and you can't find a way to minimize that category and figure out what you want to do, or at least a couple of things that you are soulfully, I'm determined and I'm passionate about. If you can't figure that out, then that's going to be a problem in terms of like making sure you're planning, you're organizing, that you're efficient with your stuff. It becomes such a pain, such a pain. So for me, when I went to university, I thought, hey, you know what? Like back in high school, I used to like be so active and everything. Let me see if I can bring that skill set to the university level. Like let's see if I can join a club and like be more of like a vocal leader. And I think I started to realize that I was a person that really loved to have conversations, really loved to, build on ideas, leadership capacity, team building, stuff like that. I was always a person that loved to like talk at the time, which is very weird because at a very young age, and honestly, you can ask some of my closest people, whether it's Kevin, whether it's Chanel, I was so shy. I was like an introvert for like most of my life. It probably wasn't until like the end of grade 10, beginning of grade 11, or I think the best pinpoint was the second annual Black Brilliance Conference that happened at Downview. It wasn't until then that I truly broke out and I became more active with myself and my presence was being more felt around the people I knew. That's where it was like, okay, you know what? I feel a bit more comfortable because I understand why people don't want to achieve certain goals for the simple fact that, okay, if I try to express myself, how is everyone else going to react? And you know what? It might sound like a cliche, but it's true. It's the most common thing that why people don't want to, do something because they're afraid not of failing for themselves, but rather how are other people going to react to it? Are people going to say, oh, you did a bad job or you did a good job? You're afraid of that acceptance of, denial or, not feeling in place with what society has to think. If that's the case, then there's nothing to be ashamed of because if you don't admit that to yourself, then really what you're actually putting yourself in the position that when you do fail, it's going to feel so new to you that when it hits you, you're not going to know how to cope with it. You're not going to know how to really deal with the consequences and learn how to grow from it. Certain people try their absolute best to be like, oh, you know what? I'm never negative. Everything I see is positive here. I'm never going to fail. I'm always going to win, succeed. That's the mission. I understand the assignment. But like, No, like this is life. Like we don't live in a utopian society where it's like that. Like it is okay to fail. In fact, call me like crazy. I have like this weird paranoia that anything I do, I actually think about the implications or the failures that could come first before I even think about or even ponder about, hey, I'm going to succeed. I'm always thinking about, okay, what happens if this goes sideways? All right, what happens if I fail? Okay, what happens if it doesn't go this way? It's weird, but I think when you realize that, you're able to understand and grow from those experiences. Now, don't get me wrong. You don't always want to think negative because that's bad, because you need to have some faith in the stuff that you do. But it's also good to, tell yourself that, hey, like, I don't need to, like, think positive in the sense of where, oh, I'm positive and nothing bad's ever gonna happen. It's like, no, you can think positive, but like you're also aware that things may not go a certain way, and that's okay. If I'm able to grow from those experiences, then I'm really moving forward with my progress, and that's what really matters. So I know I kind of went off a bit, but I just wanted to really extend on that. But when I got to university, I kind of fell in love with podcasting because the club that I'm still currently in had its own podcast, and I don't know, like from there I just loved like being there, sitting in the chair or whatever, sitting in the room, the setting, the feel with the whether it's the computer mic or just like a condenser microphone or whatever, and just talking to people. It just felt so refreshing, and I thought to myself like, how is this different though? I mean, like I've talked to people in the past. I really have. Like it's a common thing. Everyone talks to each other, you know? Like if you think about it, life itself is like a podcast. There's always stories and narratives that are being told, and there's always those ones that are kind of like the forefront of the conversation that's kind of directing how things are going. Maybe you're talking with your friends, and maybe there's just one dude's talking about one specific thing. You may pose a statement, and they may argue about it, and then there you go, the conversation continues. But the thing with podcasting and like life is that podcasts, there's a start and then there's a finish, and that what makes it interesting, because now it becomes, okay, how much can you fill within a set time frame? Because sometimes when you're talking with your friends, maybe you're in classes, you're talking about, like, for example, back in high school, we always used to talk about basketball. Like in the morning, we used to talk about basketball I used to talk with my bros, and then when the bell rings, it's like, okay, we'll see each other at lunch. The conversation really ended at a time. It's just like it was on pause. And then we came back. We picked up right where we were. And it's like, okay, like it's common. That's how it is. Just life moves on. But in a podcast, it's like, okay, if we were to talk about basketball, it's like, okay, you now have to pick out the right topics, and you have to pick out like the right, rebuttals and how you're going to counteract these arguments in a set time frame. Like let's say you go for an hour or maybe 40 minutes. And that's what's really interesting, because podcasting, it really is kind of like the skill set for everyone of like, how are you able to kind of condense a conversation that, honestly, conversations are timeless. Like, how can you condense it in a way to make it sound like, wow? Like, I know you said it in the past a bunch of times. I know you said it in different variations, but hearing it here on this platform, on this type of setting, this type of situation, it's different. So I grew interest of that, and that's where I kind of figured out, okay, this is what I want to do. So when I did that, it didn't come immediate. I liked it, but I never really put anything into action. It wasn't until like, obviously in April 2020, where I said, you know what? Let me actually, just do it for fun. And I did. And next thing I know, I thought this was only going to be like a 3-week trend. And I really just fell for it. And I told myself, you know what? This is what I want to do. This is something I'm passionate about. I don't want to just do it because I'm bored. I don't want to do this because it's a trend. I want to do this because this is what I love. I love having conversations, whether it's by myself with you guys right now, or having a guest, having 2 guests, having 5, 10. It didn't really matter. I just loved just having these types of conversations in this type of setting. So once I figured that out, I then told myself, okay, if I want to do this, I want to do it to my best capability. So that's when, I started to say, okay, I'm going to record on this day. When am I going to post these episodes? Where am I going to post these episodes? How am I going to structure my shows? Who am I going to get as guests? What type of equipment do I need? And then all of a sudden, I started to figure out, how to plan. And it correlated to what I did for work. Because even for work, I was doing stuff, but like I never really had anything outside of work or class. It was kind of like, okay, once I'm done classes, go to my job. I do my job. Okay, I'll probably do some more schoolwork and then maybe some free time. Literally, guys, I kid you not. Up to like university, I didn't really have a personal hobby. I didn't really have anything that like I stuck to and said, you know what, this is what I love to do. Like maybe listening to new music, because that's always like fun and, cool to do. But it was really when podcasting came, I was like, wow. When I realized I was planning so like well and efficiently for my podcasting, I'm like, I can do this for not just that, but for like my schoolwork, like my jobs. And like literally now today, I literally have like a schedule of like everything that I do perfectly aligned, whether it's separate or everything's together, that they're interconnected. That's literally how I operate now. So it all stems from the part of, knowing what your interest is, knowing what you want to do, what makes you happy, what inspires you. That's the best way to really say that, okay, this is how I'm going to be able to plan things out. If you can't figure it out, don't worry about having to rush to it. Because again, it took me up to university. I mean, I don't know when is the correct age someone would be thinking about personal interest. I would probably say when they enter middle school. So around 11 years of age. That would be like grade 6, right? For a long time, like close to a decade, I did not know what I wanted to do. There's lots of people before me that knew exactly what they wanted to do. Or they did something and they fell in love with it. For me, if I ever did sports, it wasn't because I like truly loved it. It's just like I liked it. I liked playing sports. It was fun to me. But I wasn't like passionate saying, oh, I want to be a professional athlete. Like, no, which is funny because I did tell myself, but then I realized like, wow, like this is just something I like to do as like a part of my leisure. I thought maybe, is it like planning events and stuff like that? It was a lot of events that I did in Downview, and I thought, okay, maybe that's what I want to do. But then I realized like, that's not it either. And it was really university where the whole point of university and not leaving out college as well is that it opens you up to a realm where you get to, try different stuff, but also it forces you in a situation where like we want you to find your interest. And when you do, hopefully it's the right one and you're able to build from that. And honestly, I have, because I've been able to build a great following for myself. I've been able to connect with such fantastic people. And honestly, it's something that I don't want to just build for me, but to other people who kind of went through the same situation as me, that for a long, long time, they didn't know what their interest was and it was hard for them. That's something that I want to kind of motivate to them, to those people listening, whether it's the outcasts, those who feel like they have a voice but don't know how to express it, whether it's those who want to do something but they're just confused of how to start it. I'm always just about helping others. That's been my mantra. It's been my motto. If anyone knows, it's others always for me. Not to say I don't care about myself. I love myself. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. But I do care for others. I think that's important. I think that's essential, actually. But those were really my things I went from my personal experience. Like I said, to kind of switch things up a bit, my interest before the podcast was probably, like I said, listen to music. Kind of wanted to like review music. You probably saw from the couple videos I made on my top 25 songs and album that I've wanted to do that for a long, long time. But other than that, maybe like script writing. I always love to like write scripts or like short films or something like that. Listen, for all the alumni, if you know about the reggae Christmas, man, if you know, you know. That was the time, bro. If you had to be there to witness it, to see it, that was truly one of the most memorable moments. Easily the most memorable moment at Down to You. That play was epic. Both of them, the first one and the second one, was crazy. So I like to do script writing as well. If you guys know anyone, hook me up because like I'm trying to like improve. But I think for anyone who's listening, figure out what your interests are. That's the first step. When you figure out what your interests are, really evaluate and critically analyze if you're passionate about it. Try it out. And trust me, like sometimes things that we like or interests that we think we're good at, it may be like, okay, we're good at it, but sometimes people aren't willing to, put in the work to make sure like, okay, if I want to be really good at this for myself, for my personal happiness, then I have to do this and that. Because don't get me wrong, there are some things that people say, oh, I'm really good at, but it's just like, it's so much work and I just wanted to make it like super quick. I don't want to be like taking too long on it. And like, that's where we fade away from our love for the interest. It's like, well, you talked about you love this, but now you're saying because it's time consuming in terms of the process. It's like, now you're not sure. It's like, come on now. Like, not everything's about to be like, you learn it quick, and in terms of the process itself, it's quick. Like for podcasting, I'm not going to lie. I'll put my hand up. I thought it was as simple as go on front of your camera, have your mic, whatever, just talk about something, and that's it. I never took in consideration of editing, video editing, audio editing. I never took in consideration of social media marketing. That was huge. Like if anyone knows me before my podcast, I was like a ghost on all social media platforms. Like you would not see me. Maybe, I kid you not, I was like that dude that posts maybe twice a year. Because I thought like, you know what, I ain't about to go on Instagram or Twitter or whatever, posting photos of me in the mirror, like, oh, look at me in my new fit, or this and that, or about, oh, yo, I just worked out. And that was not me. I'm like, why am I showing people that? Like, I don't think people care about that. Well, then again, it's my take. I don't think, but clearly that's not what everyone thinks. Everyone has been doing it from time. But what I'm trying to say is that not everything is going to come easy. Not everything is going to be a swift breeze when you do it. Every interest has its levels of like determination and just putting in the time. And if you are not able to realize that, then maybe you tell yourself, maybe that's not my interest. And you know what? You will find that one thing where like even you recognize that, okay, it's pretty tedious and time consuming, but I still like to do it. And that's what it was for me for podcasting. I figured out that, you know what? This is a lot, but you know what? I'm willing to put the time. I'm willing to put the effort because this is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that I want to do. Again, this stemmed off the fact that a club had a podcast and they were just looking for a host. And I just, I volunteered. No one really like dragged me and said, you should try this out. It showed up. I gave it a try and I willingly fell in love with it. Go figure. But, again, once you find those interests that you think you like, make sure that you really evaluate them and say that, you know what, do I really believe this is something I'm passionate about? Despite if it's like going to take me forever to master or, the process itself is super long and, I need to really prioritize my time management to, work on this. That would be step 2. And then step 3 really is just have fun doing it. Like, do not do something you want to do and you're not having fun. This is what I always say to myself. I will never do something or even work somewhere where I am not enjoying myself. Now, obviously, when you say stuff like that, you're kind of setting your standards low, because if you are one of those person that's like, you know what, I'm just looking for a job quickly, and I'm not trying to waste no time. Saying stuff like that is it makes you like put you in a position where, okay, you know what, you're just setting yourself for like disappointment, because it's like, come on. But if you know that, you know what, I know what I want to do and I want to target for this, if you're really self-determined, then you know you're probably get a pass for saying stuff like, listen, I don't want to work at a job that's not going to make me happy. And that was me. Like, guys, if I were to list out all my jobs, because I worked as a camp counselor, and that was with the TSB for Focus on Youth, which when I was 16, I was just looking for a job. And I told myself, look, I'm not about to be petty like, oh, I don't want to work here, or I want to work there. Because it was my first job. I was just trying to get experience. And when I realized, okay, once I gain experience, then maybe I'll be able to go for those more high level jobs that I have the background, I have the criteria for it. We're good. I worked as a camp counselor, and for like 2 to 3 years, I dipped into different research projects where I was either like a mentor or I led it or anything like that. And then came really the real jobs that I got, like Jane and Finch Community Research Partnership. That was the first like real job. I was a community research, assistant in 2020, and like it felt so different because I'm like, how the heck did I make it here? Like at first I was like working as a camp counselor, now I'm a research assistant. Like what? And I think it was because that, I picked that job, or I went for that job because it was something that it brought real amusement to me. I didn't go for that because of just like pay. I know we're all self-centered individuals that want money, and don't get me wrong, like I care about money as well. But I didn't want to just go for that job because, oh, it pays well. Oh, it pays super good. No, I went there because I loved what I did with research at the moment. And I said, you know what? I want to keep doing that. Because if I'm able to do research and help people, give factual information, but also connect to those people who are feeling down or being used as like guinea pigs, or like are part of the issues with research, whether they're being manipulated, stigmatized in different ways, then that's what I want to do. I just want to make certain settings feel better and more inclusive. And that's what happened. And then I started working a second job, and it's the same thing. I feel happy doing that as well. And honestly, like, even though that's something outside of interest, it still applies with the same, methodology in terms of do something that you enjoy, that you'll have fun with. They all kind of go in the hand, like finding something you like. Are you happy about it? Do you know if you're passionate about it? And are you having fun? Because I don't think it would make sense if someone is passionate about this and you're not having fun. I mean, it's possible. Maybe you're passionate about being a dancer, but then you realize where you're dancing at is that, oh wait, this place is terrible, or I'm not having fun, or dang, I didn't know I was gonna get into this, right? Because obviously there's certain levels to this. Maybe if you're dancing by yourself, where maybe you're not having to learn certain material or be taught by someone, and you don't have all that pressure that you can dance freely, maybe, yeah, you're having fun. But maybe, for example, that you're at this private school, top elite school of the country, and then you're like, wow, like this just like, I don't feel like I'm enjoying myself. Like the teacher or the administrators are always strict. They're always harsh on us and everything like that. And then you go on to realize that really it's not about that. It's just like, it's the situation. And again, this is where I revert back to what I said before. There are going to be moments that you either experience failure or moments that you feel like you're not at your highest point. But if you're able to like understand that, that's just what comes in life, and you're able to build through those, then you're able to get back to those spots where you can have fun and just do what you want to do. I'm going to be honest. there was at a point with my podcast, I wasn't feeling good. I really wasn't feeling good. I felt like when people weren't viewing my stuff on YouTube, because what people don't know, way before I really started to push heavy with the Apple Podcast and the Spotify and everything, I was posting full videos on YouTube. They're still there to this day. And I was so upset that I did at times that it would go 2 weeks and I would get like only 2 views. I was thinking like, what the heck am I doing wrong? Am I not connecting strong enough? And again, this is coming from someone who has never touched the internet. So then like my feelings were even getting more like construed, because I'm like, oh my God, why don't they like me? I thought it was as simple as like, oh, I'm going to be an overnight sensation. Like, no. You know, like it's not as easy. Like there's some people that put in like the hard work and like it takes years. Like I literally had that conversation with Chid on the podcast, and she talked about how Hustle Over Everything, Alex and Owen, like they're popping now, and they started since like 2017. So they're in their 5th year. It took them like 4 to 5 years to get to that point. But I didn't realize that. So at a moment, I felt so down. And it was literally at the time I just stopped doing episodes. I just stopped because I just like, I don't feel like the passion's there. But when I realized that, you know what? This was always part of the process. This wasn't something that was like a random roadblock. No, it was part of the journey. And part of the journey is that if you don't learn to grow from your failures, you'll never know what it's like to reach the mountaintop and say, you know what, I was able to succeed. And once I was able to get out of that slump, I mean, I just knew that whatever, no matter what views, how much likes a post or a video got, it didn't faze me anymore. I was more focused on, hey, I know what I want to do and I'm happy doing it. And then I was able to accomplish so much in 2021. Like I said, making a website, my 50th episode, which was crazy. The amount of supporters and people who came out to that was outstanding. Like I told you, like I felt like crying like right after. I was like, holy smokes, man. I didn't know so much people loved what I was doing or were supporting what I was doing. My song, like, I did not think that like so many people would be telling me personally, like, yo, dude, like it's a hit, it's a bop, bro. I listened to it. Like, it's crazy. And just like that's just like the outside stuff. Like the episodes I do as well. People are always saying like, yo, your episodes are great. People tell me, yo, I had your episodes in like my top 5 podcasts where Spotify Wrapped, or like, oh, yo, when's the next episode? Yo, I want to be a guest and everything. It's crazy. And it all stems from the fact that I'm happy what I'm doing, and people recognize that, you know what, you're happy in your own interests, and you know what, we just want to see you grow. It's the same for me. Whatever you guys have, and if you know that you're completely joyful of what you do, then why should I ever try to take that away from you? Why should I try to argue about that? I can't. But in terms of you trying to figure out what your interest should be, what you want to do next, especially for this year, step 1, figure out what you want to do. And there's no time limit on that. It's okay. Maybe there's something that you've never tried that's your favorite interest. Or maybe there's something you have tried and you didn't realize at the time it was something you do like. It's cool. And if you need help with it, that's cool as well. And then step 2, once you have like your kind of list of things, make sure that, you still have that passion for it. Because let's say we do love something, but then we try it for like the first time in probably months. It's like, oh, I hate it. Again, there's different variables, whether it's the distance of when you tried it in the first place to now, whether it's the process itself, figure that out. And then step 3, make sure you're having fun doing it. Make sure you're happy doing it. That would be like my three main points for that. But you're probably wondering like, okay, so let's say I do all of that, Sean. Like, what are the different techniques moving forward? So I'm going to start from like a very, I guess, beginner's level. I don't even want to say beginners, but like I'll just go from what I started, but also what most people would start with as well, to like what is now. I used a calendar at first. I'm not going to lie. Like everything I had in terms of like what I wanted to do, in terms of like a schedule and everything, I put it in my calendar in terms of like, okay, I'm going to do this, do that. which is cool. You can do that. Which one's better in terms of like maybe a calendar on your phone or on your tablet, whatever device, or maybe a calendar, like a physical one. It's up to you. Personally, like, because we don't have a physical calendar in my house, I use my phone. But it's okay if I do have one, then I would use a physical calendar. I think it's just better. And hang it up somewhere where like you'll find it like noticeable to see. Like maybe the first thing you wake up, that's the first thing you see. That's a great thing too. Like don't buy a calendar, never use it, or like you use it, but you put it in a place that like is so hard to like locate that like you forget about it. That's the worst thing. Like let's say you have your personal calendar, physical one. Don't put it in the kitchen or put it in the bathroom where it's like, I mean, yeah, you'll walk in there, but it's like you probably won't see it till like later on in the day or like a couple minutes later. Sometimes have it in your room, like post it somewhere. That's a good start. A second thing I would do right after was my notes and reminders. I felt like when you write down stuff in your notes, you can be more detailed. Because in calendars, they'll probably just tell you like, okay, let's say I want to exercise, or I want to, get started on my business. I want to, do this, and I want to create like a post, or I want to design a logo. You could break that down in your notes. That's something that you really can't do for calendars. Calendars are more for like big events and stuff like that. Let's say you're going to meet with someone to talk about, building your brand, and it's at a different location. Like that's what a calendar would be for. Stuff like that. Notes and reminders are more for like, okay, not really specific events, but okay, something you could do in the comfort of your home or wherever you're at. And the third thing, which I'm kind of like establishing now, because I've been on the notes and reminders kind of stage for a long time, but now I'm trying to put this in the plan, is a daily planner. Now this, it's kind of like the best of both worlds where you could put like your notes and your reminders, but also put down dates as well. It's kind of like the beauty of everything into one singular entity. It's great. I think that would be a great way. But also, I'm just giving you ideas. You may have different ways of, categorizing, prioritizing your objectives. What really is important of all of this is establishing consistency. Now, I know it's better said than doing it. Because consistency, I'm still trying to find consistency in so many things. So many things. So I'm just going to break it down in this way. When I say consistency, I don't mean that it has to be like every single day. And I'm not even talking about quantitative measurements. I'm talking about more qualitative measurements. Let's just say, and again, this is the common example because number one, I think it works well. And number two, this is basically what I'm going through. Exercise. You may start telling yourself, you know what? I'm about to go on like a 30-day challenge, or 30 days, I'm about to go exercise every single day. I'm about to, put in the work, the effort. Cool. That's fine. You probably start for the first 3 days. Everything's going well. And then all of a sudden you miss the next day. It's like, you know what? The next day I got it. And the next day, let's say you don't put in that much effort. Maybe you just stretch it out and that's it. Then the day after that, you miss it. It's like, okay, I'll recover. Then you miss that day. And you miss that day. And then you keep missing days and days. And then you start to realize that, you know what? Those days I was missing, yeah, some I was busy, but others, I really wasn't doing anything. I was just like on my phone, or like I was just chilling in my bed, or I was with my friends. Now listen, you can have a social life. That's cool. It's important that we have a social life. I mean, look at the situation we are right now in the world. Everyone's in lockdown. All the cases are rising. Trust me. Live your life. But we always look at certain things like it needs to be the biggest, most grandiose, most epic way. Like exercise. We have to be like breaking a sweat. We have to be like, oh, we can't move our bodies. Like we're about to die. Like that's it. No. If you know that you have to go somewhere and if you're not able to like put in the full work, that is okay. If it's like, you know what, I can only do like 20 push-ups, do the 20 push-ups. If I'm only able to get a 10-minute workout, do the 10 minutes. If I'm only to just stretch, then stretch. Consistency shouldn't just be looked in quantitative measurements because that is not the way to consistency, in my personal opinion. I think, if you're able to do something but get little pieces done, that's consistency. Because to be honest, if you're not doing anything, you actually are establishing consistency by not doing anything. You're just showing yourself that, oh, I'm able to go days and days and days and days with not attacking my goals, with not attacking my interests, with not attacking my, my achievements. That's where it's like, it's a problem. Like, I kid you not, guys. There were times I said I needed to get a full workout in. And sometimes I told myself, you know what? I'm just going to do like 10 push-ups. And if there's like a couple minutes I have free for the day, I'm going to do another 10 push-ups. So, personally, I think it doesn't really matter in terms of like just quantitative measurements. I think consistency really stems from just being able to do some part on your end and not trying to focus on getting the absolute most of everything. Yes, life is short and you want to get everything as possibly can, but you don't want to like harp on it moving forward for the rest of your life that you need to go big. It's okay if you start small. So that's just me. If you're able to establish those techniques of having a daily planner, your notes, reminders, your calendars, but having consistency, not in the sense of having it in a big impact, but if you're able to get it in small chunks, that's cool. And listen, if you can get it in big impacts, kudos to you. That shows like you're really putting in effort. But don't feel ashamed where your friend is like at the gym 24/7, like getting the reps in, lifting all these huge amount of like pounds and weights and everything. And you're here at home probably just, doing jumping jacks and stuff. It's not about what you need to be doing with other people or how other people are doing this and you need to copy it. No, it's about what you want to do. How do you want to seize the day? How do you want to seize 2022? That's how you should be thinking. That's the mindset. It's all about you. How you want to operate. But that's really what I have to say about that. 2022, guys, let's kill it. Let's kill it. Let's go out there. Start thinking about your interests. Start thinking about what you want to do. And listen, I'm not your parents. I'm not your friend as deeply. I can only, motivate you. And sometimes it takes a while for us to get out of that slump and do something. But all I could possibly do is give you some encouragement. Because again, it's up to you. I could sit here for another hour and talk about, you need to do this, you need to do that. But at the same time, I'm not you. It's about you guys taking the first step. So that's about it. Thank you guys for listening for this conversation of the Safe Room. In terms of goals for 2022 for the podcast, personally, I did want to do something in person. I don't know what. If the cases go down, then maybe. All I can say is more guests, bigger guests. I do have people in mind. I might do something where, I try to, connect more on social media. That's one thing I will say. Mostly I've been on Instagram. I'm trying to find ways to tie in other stuff. I will say this, and I'm sorry, you probably will never see me on TikTok. I'm sorry, you probably will never see me on TikTok. I don't hate TikTok. Well, actually, let me just reverse that. I'm not a fan of the TikTok community. I don't hate TikTok. It's just sometimes the people who either make posts or be reacting to it, y'all be wilding sometimes. I don't want to get into it, but it is what it is. But no disrespect. If you're a TikToker, I don't come here with any heat or anything. I'm just speaking my mind. And maybe you guys can convince me. Y'all can convince me that TikTok's not too bad. Don't get me wrong. I listen to TikTok. I watch some stuff. Some things make me laugh out loud, hysterically. It's just, I just don't go on there all the time, But I'm going to try to be more active on social media, especially Twitter. Whether it's making some tweets about updates with the podcast, or maybe what I'm just doing in my personal life. Maybe I can do more of that. I don't want to be completely like this is my life, like vlogs and everything. I may do if I ever do anything special for the podcast, like an in-person thing, I might do a vlog. Just for you guys. Depends. But in terms of goals, getting the platform to be bigger and better, that's always the goal for me. Connecting with new people, being able to, help them grow their platform as well. Because I'm always about that. An in-person episode, that's kind of been my stuff as well. Also, expanded from podcasting. So, like I mentioned before earlier on in this episode, I have lots of interests. One of them is script writing. I might do something. I honestly may do something where I do a project or some production where I write a short film. Actually, that's a lie. I probably won't write a short film. But something. We'll see. I've always wanted to either direct a show or be part of something big like that. Who knows? We'll have to see. But I think I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much. First episode of 2022 in the books. That's a wrap. Make sure you guys check me out on Instagram at the Safe Room Podcast. Check out my website, thesaferoompodcast.com. I'm trying to make some updates. I'm trying to do some new things, what other ideas I can bring. But, check out my website for stuff like that. Go check out my song, First Lady, on all platforms, the official soundtrack of the podcast. If you heard the beginning of this podcast with the intro, that's my song. That's the beat that Ricky, shout out to him, that he created. Go listen to it. Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, SoundCloud, YouTube, you name it, everything. Go listen to it. And hopefully, guys, this year brings us prosperous joy, not just for me, but for everyone. I hope we can get rid of this panoramic, pepperoni, paparazzi, pitbull, whatever you want to name it. This Omarion, Omicron, Omni Flare, whatever. Just want it to be gone. I want to be gone. I want to go outside without having to worry about wearing a mask. I just want to. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.